Hey gang, Jamie Dry here. I'm going to talk to you about cervical radiculopathy and some of my suggestions about how you can take care of yourself to address it. Now specifically, I'm going to be talking about an issue that a friend of mine, Frank, mentioned the other day on Facebook. He was kind of reaching out to some of his friends and getting their input. This is my little feedback, and you guys can all benefit from this. So I've got a 4-step process for dealing with structural issues in general, and I'll take you through this specific to Frank's issue, because a lot of you are going to hopefully be able to relate or put it in terms of your own body. So step 1 is trying to figure out what the activity is or activities are that are causing this imbalance and therefore the problem. In Frank's case, he thinks it's from working on his computer, so he's reaching that arm out, and also he has a stick shift driving. So that makes sense, right? He's constantly got his arm out there for extended periods of time, pulling, rotating the rib cage and then therefore the spine. That's the activity that he seems to be having a problem with. Step 2, if you can, ditch the activity, stop doing it or change it up. Now, he can't go ahead and he's not going to move to Europe and get a car and start driving on the other side. So that's not really going to make sense. I don't think he's going to switch hands for his computer. So if you can't change up the activity, then you need to double down your efforts on steps 3 and 4. Here we go. Step 3 is all about releasing the trigger points and the different types of adhesions in the tissues that are formed from chronically being in this extended position. So he's got a great network of structural therapists that he can see to help free up the different fascial lines and release trigger points, possibly also through acupuncture, and that's highly what I recommend for you guys out there. Now step 4, and this is really my area, this is where I come into play, is all about strengthening the antagonistic muscles. So there are certain muscle groups that are constantly being engaged when he's working on the computer or driving the car. What we're looking to do is counter that movement. So this is going to be a lot of pulling, and I recommend that you're going to take this to multiple levels. You're going to do bilateral but also unilateral work. So I'll go ahead and start with something that's very specific. If he's reaching out here constantly, well, my idea would be I would want a lot of pulling in a similar plane. And a great way to do this is to just go to the gym, set up a cable machine right about in line with where he'd be reaching for the stick or the mouse, and get yourself in a nice little split stance and start getting some good pulling motions coming. Pretty light. We're looking for motion not just in the arm, but I also want some of the rib cage to work. Seeing as the rib cage is being rotated when he's driving, I want to counter that rotation with the pulling motions. So that's very specific. And now, in order to add to that, because I just think it's good practice, I would then also start taking like a bilateral grip on like a rope, perhaps, at the same cable, and work from different points. So you can have the pulley at different heights, and now you're going to start working with like a face pull, keeping it nice and high with the arms, and again, pretty light, so you're getting a lot of retraction of the shoulder blades, but then also some external rotation of the humerus, because he's spending a lot of time down there on an internal rotation. We want to start getting some nice external work going. So that's the second exercise. The next exercise that I'm a big fan of, it's really simple, kind of meatheadish, but just taking some relatively modest weights and give me some rear flies with them. Again, focusing on that scapular retraction. And the last thing, if you want to start getting a little bit heavier, would be a chest-supported row. You're going to have an adjustable bench at an angle. You're going to put your chest down on it, grab your weights, and you're just getting some heavier rows in. None of this, in my mind, is very heavy work. It's all like modest to light loads, because it's really about getting some volume in there and retraining those tissues to kind of come back in the opposite direction from where you've been holding them for hours, sometimes a day, years on end. So that's what I would approach, right? So first off, step 1, let's recap. Find out what the activity is that's causing the imbalance. Is it driving or working on the mouse or something else? 2, ditch it, and if you can't, double down on the next 2 steps. Go see someone or figure out how to work and do some soft tissue work on yourself. So release the trigger points in the muscles and try and get some of the connective and the fascial tissues freed up and unglued, and release those adhesions so you can actually get the movement back. And then once you get that movement, reinforce it by figuring out an exercise that works in the opposition to the pattern that you're always in, so you can start reinforcing the muscles to help pull and keep you in better alignment. So that's my 4-step process. Those are my recommendations for how I would go about dealing with a different type, some type of radiculopathy. Hopefully they'll work for you, Frank. I know that my partner Maribel had a double radiculopathy years ago, and she did a variety of the same types of concepts, and it worked wonderfully for her. She hasn't had any of that pain since. It's been about 4 years now. If you got any questions or specific issues that you guys want some help with, please go ahead and leave them in the comments box. And again, if this video was helpful for you, just give me a little bit of love back and hit the like button. I'm Jamie Dreyer, and I'll catch you next time.